guys, Eztheal here, bringing you more Path of Exile content. So this week I had a beta key giveaway, and after choosing a random member using a random program, I went ahead and pulled. It's Corey. You have won the beta key, man. So if you're seeing this, go ahead, send me a PM on the forum, send me a comment on either my profile or on the forums, and I will go ahead and send you your beta key, man. You have 48 hours from the time of this upload, and hopefully you get this real quick. Okay, guys. So today's topic of the day is going to be racing. If you guys have no idea what Path of Exile racing is, don't worry, don't fret. I'll go ahead and explain it. Path of Exile has these events, usually timed events ranging from 2 hours to 4 hours, that involve racing. Basically what you do is you go ahead and try to compete against other players to see who can get the fastest times and the highest levels. These races go on very frequently, usually about 2 to 3 times a week. This week we had a whole week of events worth. We had turbo races, which are where monsters are 60% faster and attack 60% faster, and we've had normal races, both party and solo. So it's been a pretty good week. I have participated in 2 of them. One of them was a party race in which I participated with the streamer Nugian or Dan, and another one was a solo race where I participated by, well, myself. Both races we ended up doing pretty good, but in the end, you know, in the party race we ended up dying, and in the solo race I ended up being careless and dying also. So, okay guys, we're going to talk about a little bit about racing tips today. Racing is generally straightforward. There's one sort of strat, the core strat that most people tend to follow, and that's, you know, it's very linear, depending on whether it's a party race or a solo race, and depending on your class, of course. So I'm not going to give builds for classes for racing. That's going to be up to you guys. They vary. A lot of people are very secretive about their builds. Personally, I'm not, but you know, a lot of people are. So let's start off with a general racing strat. So basically, you go ahead and you start up your character. 30 minutes before an event starts, registration will open and you'll be allowed to start up your character in that specific league. So you would come down here and you would press create, and in the league you would go ahead and choose the appropriate date and league that you're going to be in. You start your character, type in your whatever name, and you should be done. So a cool thing is, a lot of people don't know this, but you go ahead and start your character, and generally you will be laying down on the floor, sort of in a drowning position. There's actually a way to combat that, so you can get a good 2-3 second head start from everybody else. You go ahead and you log out, log back in, and sign into your character again, and you should be standing up. That usually saves you about 2 to 3 seconds in a race, so it's not a big thing, but for a lot of people that like getting the first hillock kill, then it's very important. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the actual race itself. So mainly this is what's going to happen down. If you want to race, this is what you generally have to do. It's generally very simple. You go ahead and you kill hillock. You run past this first mud flat. No, give me a second. Let me log into another character that has all this already open. Okay, so you go ahead, you stand up, the race starts, you go ahead and you kill hillock. You don't kill any mobs up to hillock. You just go ahead and kill hillock as quickly as possible. Once you get to the Lion's Eyes Watch, you go ahead and you pick up a coral ring for using your 3 wisdom scrolls that you have on you. That's very important because it adds a lot of survivability to all the builds. After you pick up your coral ring, you pick up your skill gem reward, and then you run past terraces. Usually not very many people kill anything in terraces, even though there's a large group amount of mobs and they all group up very nicely. They're not worth the EXP. You can generally get level 2 or 3 in mud flats, which is a much better area to go ahead and start leveling in. Go ahead and get quickly in mud flats. You want to be entering the submerged passage by about 5-minute mark. Once you enter the submerged passage, you go ahead, you look for the waypoint, and you come back to town. You go ahead, you go. Once you find the waypoint in submerged, One second, I accidentally clicked mudflats. Okay, so you would go ahead and find the waypoint in Submerged Passage. Once you have found the waypoint, you would take the waypoint back to town. You would go ahead and pick up your skill gem reward. So you would come over here to Dark Layer, pick up your skill gem reward, go back to Submerged Passage, and then you would look for the Upper Submerged Passage. Once you're past the Upper Submerged Passage, you're going to head to the ledge. In both these areas, you want to kill mobs whenever they group up into nice 4 or 5 group mobs. You don't want to kill, one by one. That's going to take too long and it's not fast enough. You want to be at the ledge by about the 9-minute mark, maybe. So in the ledge, you want to level to about level 8 or 9. Most people tend to do is they go ahead and do 2 runs of the ledge. So they'll start from the beginning of the Upper Submerge, where they just got out, to the end of the Upper Submerge, which is the rocky climb. Once they get to the rocky climb, they'll come back down, and they'll go ahead and hit the Submerged Passage again. Once you hit on your second way down, when you hit this waypoint, you will go back to town, and you will go back to mudflats. And once you hit back to mudflats, you're going to go out to the terraces. And at the terraces, you're going to go ahead and you're going to do this quest reward. So you're going to head down here into Tidal Island. Once you're in Tidal Island, you're going to go ahead and complete that quest. You kill the boss there, and you pick up the medicine chest. Once you pick up the medicine chest, you log out, log back into your character, and you pick up your phase run quest reward. Phase run is very important in the game. It makes you farm a lot faster. You go back to ledge and finish up your run. You should be about level 8 or 9. At that point, you run past the rocky climb. You don't fight mobs there if you can help it. You go into the prison. Once you're in the prison, the first level of the prison is generally easy to farm. You don't want to spend too much time farming it, or any at all. Just kill whatever mobs are in your way when they group up into nice 3 or 4 bunches. And you go up to the second prison level. Once you're in the second prison level, you don't want to kill anything. It's very dangerous. There's a lot of spellcasters. There's a very big possibility you might die there. So just run past everything and get to Brutus. Once you hit Brutus, you go ahead and you kill Brutus. I will give general tips and other builds how to kill Brutus the fastest, but generally he's not a big problem for any class. You kill Brutus and you go to the Prisoner's Gate. Once you're at the Prisoner's Gate, you're gonna run right past the Prisoner's Gate. You don't try to farm Prisoner's Gate. You don't do any of that stuff. Once you get past Prisoner's Gate, you're gonna go ahead and enter the shipyard. The ship graveyard is very interesting because it's a very, very scary place. If you get stuck in the shipyard, you're going to die. So generally, the best advice I can give you is you go ahead and use phase run and just stick by the water. If you stick by the water, you will eventually come up to this next place that you need to go. So just stick by the water, go by the water, as you can see that I'm doing here, and right away, 100% of the time, you'll end up getting into the coves. At the coves, you want to farm it to about level 12 or 13. So generally, the coves is a good place to farm because it has really slow monsters and they tend to group up nicely. You want to be careful though, because these crabs do go ahead and provide the vulnerability curse, which will increase the damage you take. So be careful when you do this. So you want to farm here to about level 12 or 13, preferably 12. Once you have finished farming that to level 12 or 13, you will go ahead and enter the Cavern of Wrath. Upon entering the Cavern of Wrath, you want to go ahead and make your cold resistance rings. How do you make cold resistance rings? Well, it's very simple. You go ahead and you pick up an iron ring. Usually vendors will sell iron rings, so you go ahead and you purchase one, and you purchase an iron ring off them. If you should have a blue gem. If you do not have a blue gem, re-roll a witch and run it all the way to the first quest reward, which is Hillock. So you kill Hillock, you get your quest reward, and then you transfer it to your stash and you log into your other character, your racing character. Then you go ahead and you sell your iron ring and a blue gem, and that will give you a sapphire ring. So you go ahead here, and there you go. So you would do that to pick up the sapphire rings. Make sure you have 2 sapphire rings. Once you have 2 sapphire rings, you go back down here. You head into the Cavern of Wrath. Now the Cavern of Wrath is pretty easy. There's nothing, that's too challenging. It's a straightforward. You don't farm this area per se, but you kill whatever's in your way. So let's say, there's a group of, this, obviously. This you're gonna kill. You want to be careful. So you go ahead and kill all these mobs that are coming here. You end up in the second part of this cave, which is called the Cavern of Anger. The Cavern of Anger, you want to be very careful because there's exploding squids. These exploding squids at low level will 2-3 shot you. So you want to be careful there. You want to run away from them, or you want to kill them before they get to you. Once you reach the Cavern of Anger and you get to the end, you kill Merville. I'll go ahead and make a video about Merville and future expansions, but for now, your cold resistance ring should be fine. You should be good to go. Just make sure that you open a portal when you get there, and you start smacking on Merville. Have your 2 cold resistance rings on you. Try to have at least 50 cold resistance, preferably. That's at least the minimum, I would say, if you're new to racing. You have to understand that in racing you're going to be underleveled through a lot of the content, most of the content, probably all of the content. So you go ahead, you kill Merville. You were looking for a 1-hour Merville kill. A lot of the more veteran players will go ahead and get 50-minute Merville kills, between 50 and 55. So those are generally, the best times to do it. If you can get a 1-hour Merville kill, then you're doing great. So you're going to get ahead, and after you kill Merville, you're going to end up in this forest area. Now the forest area is pretty good farming spot. A lot of people will tell you to farm this spot to level 14. I agree. Go ahead and farm this spot until you get to level 14. You go ahead and you farm it. When you're going to get into the forest encampment. If you get to the forest encampment before you're level 14, go ahead and just go back down the forest and farm it again until you get to level 14. Upon getting to level 14, this is where it gets interesting. If you're in a party, then you're going to go ahead and send one party member out to do Chamber of Sins. You're going to send another party member out to do the Weaver's Chambers. And the rest of you are going to start farming Fellshrine Ruins. The reason you do this is because people are going to be getting EXP, going to the Chamber of Sins and going through the Weavers, so you guys have to keep up with them in EXP, so you won't lose EXP. So you go ahead and you do that. Now, if this is a solo race, that's where it gets kind of interesting. A lot of people will go ahead and come to the... What I'm going to suggest you do is you go through the Rivers Crossings, go through the Dark Forest, and get to the Western Forest. You're going to farm the Western Forest to about level 16, 17, and then you're going to come down here and do the Weaver's Chambers. Now, make sure before you do the Weaver's Chambers, you have a... you have these large pots on you. You have a good amount of large health pots, and mana pots are, iffy. You don't need to have huge mana pots, but large pots for sure. Now, after you do the Weaver's Chambers, you come up here and you do Chamber of Sins. Chamber of Sins, you need to make sure you have at least a topaz ring. How can you make a topaz ring? You take another iron ring and you sell a green gem for it. They tend to drop fairly often in Act 2, so that's also a good thing. Make sure you pick them up. After you get Chamber of Sins and you pick up the Belfold gem from there, go ahead and pick up the waypoint for the Broken Bridge. After you have the waypoint for the Broken Bridge, you go ahead and you go back to the Western Forest and you pick up the waypoint for Alira. So you would come over here and pick up the waypoint for Alira. At this point, you don't want to kill any of these bosses. So once you have the waypoint to both bosses, you would go ahead and come up here and go to Val Ruins. So how do you get to Val Ruins? It's pretty simple. So you would go, after you pick up those two boss waypoints, you would go back to town and you would head to your left. Once you get into your left, you would head north and you would just keep following the wall to the north until you hit this area here. And before you can open the area, you're going to need the Chamber of Sins done, and you're gonna need the Weaver's Chambers done. They're gonna be roots in the way. Just go ahead and click on them. They will get out of the way, and you can come in here. So you're gonna go ahead and clear the Val ruins. You're gonna get through it, and then you're gonna go to pools and streams. Once you're in pools and streams, you're gonna go ahead and pick up the waypoint for Oak. Oak is the last member of the 3 bandit bosses. So once you're here with Oak, you're gonna go ahead, take the waypoint. You're gonna go kill Alira first. Then you're gonna go kill the other guy, Caitlyn. You're gonna kill Caitlyn in the Broken Bridge. You're gonna come back to pools and streams after both of them are dead, and you're gonna go ahead and talk to Oak and help Oak. You don't want to kill Oak; takes too long, and HP is always good to have. Okay, after you're done killing Oak, you're gonna go to Waterfall Cave. Waterfall Cave 1, you don't want to farm it; you want to run straight through it. And Waterfall Cave 2 is a pretty good place to farm. Depending if it's a 3-hour race, you want to go straight to Val. If it's a 2-hour race, if you got this far, then you already know what you're doing. For most 2-hour races, most people will go ahead and stop at the Western Forest, because that's probably the best farming area prior to the Waterfall Cave 2. So once you're in the Waterfall Cave 2, you want to farm it to about level 23 or 24. That's the point you want to kill Val. At level 23 to 24 is the point you want to kill Val. Now you're looking for about a 2-hour and 30-minute Val kill. If you're getting near that 2-hour and 30 minutes and you're nowhere near Val, you just stop and go back to Western Forest and start grinding it, because there's no way that you're gonna be able to beat the other top classes if you're like at 2 hours and 30 minutes and you're barely gonna go kill Val. It's not worth it. Go ahead and just grind as much as you can. If you get a 2-hour and 30-minute Val kill, you're gonna go ahead and get into Cruel Act 1, and you're just gonna run straight to the ledge. You're not gonna farm anything unless the monsters that are in your way. Once you get to the ledge, you should have about 30 minutes, which should let you hit about level 28, 29. On most classes, if you got here much earlier, you can hit up to 31, 32. And that's a general racing strat. There's a lot of different like little things that people do to make themselves much faster. There's a lot of little builds, a lot of little tips and tricks that hopefully I'll be able to do in another video. But for now, if you're looking to get into racing, just go ahead and follow this strat, this core strat, and you should get pretty good. You should be in the top 20, top 30 if you're doing it correctly. Well, thanks for paying attention, Exiles. I hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks, guys.